breath said. A human engineer inherits a legendary battleship. Entering it changes everything. Elias leaned over the damaged engine of a cargo freighter, his hands black with grease. Sparks flew every time he touched the alien circuits, but he worked carefully. The freighter had been dead for months, abandoned in the scrapyard of the station orbiting Ardon 7. Most humans would have avoided it. Aliens called it junk. But to Elias it was a challenge, a puzzle to solve. He wiped sweat from his forehead and muttered, "Just a little more, and you'll wake again."
Around him, the scrapyard was a maze of twisted metal and abandoned ships.
Machines clanked, repair drones buzzed overhead, and alien merchants shouted about rare parts. Humans were rare here, too. Both came to work in the low-paying workshops or scavenged scraps. But Elias wasn't like most humans. He had a knack for machines. Where others saw broken parts, he saw possibilities. A sudden chime echoed through the scrapyard. Elias frowned. That wasn't a standard system alert. He wiped his hands and checked his personal console. A message blinked on the screen, strange in both appearance and tone. It read, "To Elias Traynor. You are the rightful heir to the Titan's wrath. Immediate claim required." Elias stared at the message. He thought it was a joke. Someone probably hacked his system. He had no relatives, no wealth, no reason to inherit anything, certainly nothing as legendary as the Titan's wrath. He leaned back and read it again. The message included coordinates, an access key, and a warning. Do not delay. Those who were chosen before you are gone. The ship waits for the one it recognizes. Elias laughed nervously. Breath. The ship waits for me, he muttered. What is this? Some alien scam? He had spent his life among broken machines, always dreaming about the stars, about what humans could do if given the right tools. Oh, maybe this was something real. By the next day, Elias had prepared. He gathered his small personal ship, some tools, and a rations pack. His destination, the coordinates from the message. The trip was long, passing through asteroid belts, empty space lanes, and strange alien trade hubs. Everywhere he went, aliens looked at him with a mix of confusion and disdain. Humans were not common in these sectors, and most aliens believed humans were weak and unimportant. Elias ignored their stares. He had a mission, and he trusted his own skill. When he arrived at the coordinates, his ship emerged from hyperspace into a dark sector. At the center of a massive asteroid field hovered a ship unlike anything Elias had ever seen. Its hull gleamed with an almost liquid shine. The design was alien but strangely elegant, with edges that seemed to shift subtly, as though alive. Lights pulsed across its surface in patterns no human technology had ever produced. Elias's heart raced. The ship was enormous. Its reputation in galactic history was legendary. The Titan's Wrath, once the flagship of an extinct alien empire. Stories said it could crush fleets, travel farther and faster than any other vessel, and even adapt itself in combat. Many had tried to claim it over the centuries. All had failed. And now, apparently, it was his. Elias docked cautiously, his hands trembling as he accessed the airlock controls. The ship seemed aware. Asabade, God. The doors opened before he touched the panel, as if it had been waiting for him. He stepped inside, and a wave of energy ran through him. The air smelled faintly metallic, alive somehow. Panels lit up as he walked by, reading his biosigns. A voice echoed in the chamber. It was deep, resonant, and strangely comforting. Welcome, Elias. I have waited a long time for one such as you. Elias froze. Who's there? He asked, his voice small. I am the Titan's wrath. I recognize the hand that will awaken me fully. But you are more than your kind has shown the galaxy. Elias blinked. Humans were considered fragile, weak, simple-minded. To hear a ship acknowledge the potential of his species sent a shiver down his spine. He took a step forward. The ship seemed to respond, corridors shifting slightly to guide him deeper into its core. Panels displayed star maps, energy flows, and alien symbols he didn't understand. But he didn't panic. Where others would have been lost, Elias felt a thrill.
This was a puzzle bigger than any he had solved. I will show you my capabilities, the ship continued.
But you must prove yourself. Only one with creativity, resourcefulness, and courage can wield me fully. Elias grinned. Then let's see what you can do. For hours he explored. He ran diagnostics, cautiously powering up the engines, testing weapon systems and interfacing with alien technology that had been silent for centuries. Every system responded to him in ways that seemed almost human in intuition. The ship was alive, and it wanted him to succeed. As he activated the main engines, the entire asteroid field shook. Nearby alien observers tracking the sector for centuries were stunned. No human had ever dared approach the Titan's wrath, let alone activate its power. Your species has been underestimated, the ship said. Let me show you what is possible. Elias felt the energy of the ship running through him. The core thrummed like a heartbeat, and lights flashed across panels in a symphony of power. He realized that this was not just a ship. It was a weapon, a fortress, a laboratory, and a living mind all in one. And he was now its commander. He spent the next day learning more. The AI guided him, revealing hidden compartments, secret weapon bays, and advanced shield systems. It explained ancient technologies humans had never encountered, weapons that could bend gravity, shields that could redirect energy, and engines that could traverse space in ways previously thought impossible. Despite the complexity, Elias began to understand, but his engineering mind, trained in human ingenuity and improvisation, allowed him to see connections the original alien builders had never considered.
He began tinkering, combining systems in unconventional ways.
The ship responded enthusiastically, adapting to his changes instantly.
By the end of the second day, Elias performed a test. He launched the ship's primary weapon.
It was more than a cannon. It seemed to draw energy from the very fabric of space. The asteroid field trembled as a controlled pulse swept through, demonstrating both raw power and precision. Elias stepped back, laughing in disbelief. I can't believe this. It's perfect.
Perfection is nothing without ingenuity,
the ship replied, breaths. And you have ingenuity. The galaxy has not seen humans like you before. Elias realized the truth. He was no longer just a human engineer working in a scrapyard. He had inherited a legendary power, one that could change how the galaxy viewed his species forever. Aliens who had mocked humans would soon learn that underestimation was dangerous, but Elias also knew the responsibility weighed heavily. With power came attention. Soon, other species would try to take the ship from him. He would need to learn quickly, adapt, and survive. This was no longer a game of scrap engines. It was a game of survival, strategy, and intelligence in a galaxy that had never taken humans seriously. As the twin suns of the distant system set, Elias stood on the bridge, gazing out at the stars. The Titan's wrath hummed beneath his feet, alive and responsive. He smiled. For the first time, he whispered, humans might actually be more than anyone thinks. The stars shimmered ahead, full of possibilities and challenges. Elias had no idea what awaited him, but one thing was certain. Entering the Titan's wrath had changed everything. The galaxy would never look at humans the same way again, and for the first time in centuries, a human held the key to power no alien had fully mastered. Elias had spent days inside the Titan's wrath, learning its systems, testing its engines, and exploring corridors that seemed alive. Every panel he touched hummed in response. Every screen seemed to anticipate his thoughts. The ship was far more than a vessel. It was a living entity, a partner, and a puzzle waiting to be solved. He floated in zero gravity above the central core, his mind racing with possibilities. Breaths, he whispered to himself. Maybe we are more than they think. He had already discovered features that no alien scholar had believed existed. Hidden energy conduits, cloaking fields, advanced shields, and weapons that bent the very rules of physics. Bad. Every system had layers of complexity waiting for someone clever enough to unlock them. Elias decided it was time to test the ship in space. He initiated the engines, and the Titan's wrath responded with a surge that shook the nearby asteroid field. Lights blazed across the hull, and a low hum filled the bridge, vibrating in rhythm with Elias's heartbeat. As he exited the asteroid field, he noticed the first observers, a small alien reconnaissance fleet. Their ships were sleek, fast, and armed to impress. Breath. They had likely detected the activation of the Titan's wrath and came to see what the humans were doing. Elias swallowed. Humans were supposed to be weak. No one expected them to command legendary warships. And yet, here he was. The alien leader hailed him. The voice was sharp, mechanical, and dripping with disbelief. Human, what are you doing in the Titan's wrath? Step away immediately, or we will fire. Elias's fingers hovered over the controls. I don't think so, he muttered, a grin forming. Let's see what happens when humans fight smart. The aliens opened fire. Pulses of energy lit up space, striking shields that rippled and absorbed the attacks. The Titan's wrath responded instinctively, maneuvering with precision no human pilot could have calculated. Elias guided it through the asteroid field, using debris as cover. Burst. He noticed the alien ships were predictable. They followed standard attack patterns. Humans, however, thrived on improvisation. Elias used every system at his disposal, gravitational field projectors to fling asteroids into the enemy path, cloaking bursts to vanish from sensors, and weapon arrays fired in patterns the original builders of the ship could not have imagined. The battle was over almost as quickly as it began. The alien fleet retreated, stunned and confused. They had expected to face a human with nothing more than a weak ship, not a legendary vessel wielded by a clever engineer. Elias laughed, a mix of relief and excitement. They'll remember this, he said to the ship. Yes. The Titan's wrath replied. The galaxy is beginning to notice. Humans are underestimated. That will change. Word spread fast. Holocom signals intercepted by nearby stations carried the tale. A human had activated the Titan's wrath and defeated an alien fleet in his first trial. Many laughed at first. It's a fluke, Alien said. Humans are weak. They cannot last. But the whispers grew. Rumors of a human genius spread through the far reaches of space. For scientists, engineers, and even military leaders debated how could one human control a ship of unmatched power and complexity. Some feared that humans once ignored might become dangerous. Others were curious. Meanwhile, Elias continued testing the ship. Every day brought new discoveries. He found energy conduits that could amplify weapon power, shield matrices that could adapt mid-battle, and engines that allowed near-instantaneous course corrections. The AI guided him but left space for his creativity. He began experimenting. He combined the ship's energy fields with makeshift modifications, rerouting power in ways no alien engineer had predicted, reprogramming subroutines to allow faster than normal targeting adjustments, and even using debris as improvised weapons. The Titan's wrath responded to these innovations like a living partner. It adapted, shifting its systems and learning from Elias's improvisations. One day, while testing a jump through a dense asteroid belt, Elias noticed an unexpected patrol. A group of alien pirates who had heard the rumors of a human in the legendary ship. They were armed and aggressive, expecting to intimidate or steal. Elias smiled. Time to show them humans think differently. The pirates fired first. Energy bolts lit up the belt, striking asteroids and ricocheting unpredictably. Elias had already calculated trajectories and velocities using asteroids to shield the ship. The pirates' shots backfired, smashing their own formation as the Titan's wrath moved with uncanny precision. Then Elias deployed an idea. He rerouted power to the gravitational projectors and targeted a cluster of asteroids above the pirates. The projectors flung the asteroids like meteors, forcing the pirates to scatter. In their panic, Elias fired the ship's weapons in a sequence that disabled their engines without destroying them. An elegant, non-lethal solution that stunned the aliens. They fled, but their respect, or fear, remained. Humans are unpredictable, the pirate captain later admitted over a communication channel. That evening, Elias reflected on the events. Humans were considered weak, their technology inferior, their species insignificant. But here he was, a single human using intelligence, creativity, and adaptability to outperform fleets of alien warships. The galaxy thinks in terms of power and numbers, the ship said. You think in terms of possibilities. That is human strength. Elias nodded. I guess they underestimated us again. As days passed, Elias began exploring uncharted regions. The ship revealed hidden compartments, some containing ancient relics, old star maps, and lost technology from civilizations long gone. Breaths. Each discovery reminded him that humans could do more than survive. They could innovate, adapt, and lead. Small alien factions began to watch him from afar. Some sought to challenge the human and claim the ship for themselves. Others were intrigued, observing quietly to understand the clever human pilot. Rasp. During a supply run to a nearby trading hub, Elias encountered his first real diplomatic challenge. A coalition of minor alien merchants confronted him, demanding he surrender the ship for inspection. Elias calmly stepped onto the observation deck. The merchants assumed a human would cower before dozens of alien leaders. Instead, Elias did something unexpected. He demonstrated the ship's capabilities without firing a shot. He initiated a cloaking sequence, vanishing from sight entirely. Then, the ship's energy fields reflected and redirected sensor signals, making it appear as if dozens of identical ships surrounded the coalition. Panic spread among the aliens. They had expected a human with no weapons, not a human who could manipulate perception itself. Elias transmitted a simple message. Humans are underestimated at your own risk. The Titan's wrath is not mine alone. It represents what humans can do when ignored. We are clever. We are resourceful. And we will not be ignored. The aliens retreated, some in awe, others in fear. Word of the encounter spread even faster than the previous battle. The galaxy began to whisper. Humans were not weak. Humans were dangerous in ways others could not predict. Desk, Elias smiled in the bridge, floating above the control deck. The Titan's wrath hummed with approval, lights pulsing in rhythm with his thoughts. The ship was alive, and together they had begun to rewrite the galaxy's perception of humanity. But Elias knew this was only the beginning. Every battle, every maneuver, every display of creativity drew attention. Soon, larger fleets would come. Aliens who had dismissed humans as weak would learn, too late, that underestimation could be fatal. He began planning, combining his engineering skill with tactical strategies. The Titan's Wrath was more than a ship. It was a laboratory, a weapon, and a classroom. And Elias intended to teach the galaxy a lesson they would never forget. As he floated in zero gravity, gazing at distant stars, Elias realized one truth. Humanity had never been fully appreciated, and now, through ingenuity and courage, they were beginning to shine.
"We are just getting started," he said, a grin spreading across his face.
Let's see how far humans can go. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, full of unknown dangers and unimaginable possibilities. But for the first time, Elias felt humanity was not just surviving. It was beginning to rise, and the galaxy would never underestimate them again. Word of Elias and the Titan's Wrath had spread across the galaxy like a supernova. Aliens whispered in secret corridors of their star stations. "A human commands the legendary ship." "Possible," they said. Some laughed, some scoffed, but fear began to grow quietly in their hearts, breaking. Humans had always been underestimated. And now one human had proven them wrong. Elias floated in the bridge of the Titan's Wrath, studying star charts and patrol logs. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers, and he knew attention would only grow. Already, alien fleets were redirecting to intercept him. Some sought diplomacy, but most were prepared for war. The first threat came sooner than expected. A powerful alien faction, the Zorvath, known for crushing rebellious systems, sent a fleet to the coordinates Elias had been operating in. The Zorvath flagship dwarfed any ship Elias had encountered. Its energy cannons could destroy moons. It radiated power, and its fleet formed an impenetrable wall of metallic fury. Elias's heart pounded. Humans were outnumbered, but not outsmarted. He remembered what the Titan's Wrath had told him. Humans think differently. That is your greatest weapon. He ran diagnostics, rerouted energy flows, and began improvising. While the aliens relied on standard formations and predictable attack patterns, Elias thought creatively. He knew the Zorvath expected him to fight in ways conventional pilots fought. Straightforward attacks, brute force maneuvers, direct firepower. Elias did the opposite. He used the ship's advanced cloaking field and stealth drives to make the fleet think he was in one location, while in reality, the Titan's Wrath moved unpredictably across three-dimensional space. Sensors and radar picked up anomalies, ghost signals, phantoms, multiple signatures. The Zorvath fleet fired blindly, energy bolts smashing empty space while Elias watched and adjusted. Then came the most daring move. Elias had studied the energy flows of nearby stars during previous jumps. Using the stars' gravitational and plasma fields, he directed a burst of energy into the ship's weapon systems, supercharging them far beyond normal capacity. When he fired, the energy pulse struck the Zorvath fleet like a bolt of pure lightning. But ships were disabled without being destroyed, engines fried, weapons rendered useless. The flagship trembled, unable to believe what had just happened.
Odd. Aliens stared in awe at the human who had defied logic and expectation. Elias allowed himself a small smile.
"Creativity wins," he said quietly. The Zorvath did not attack further. Instead, they retreated, a mix of fear and respect in their communications. "This human is not to be underestimated," their commander admitted. "News of the encounter spread faster than the speed of light." Entire star systems began whispering about the human engineer who commanded the Titan's Wrath. Aliens who had once laughed at humanity now watched carefully. Humans were no longer just survivors. They were becoming innovators, tacticians, and strategists of the galaxy. Elias spent the following weeks exploring uncharted space, testing the ship and improving its systems. Every day, he combined human ingenuity with alien technology in ways no one had imagined. He discovered hidden weapon bays, shield arrays, and energy conduits that could be rerouted for maximum efficiency. He even programmed drones that could operate autonomously in battle, acting on human-like intuition rather than rigid logic. Small alien factions attempted to challenge him, hoping to test whether the rumors were true. Each time, Elias responded differently. One fleet chased him through a dense asteroid belt, expecting to trap him. Elias rerouted power to the engines and shields, then guided the fleet into a corridor of magnetic fields. Their ships became tangled in invisible forces, crashing or drifting helplessly. Another time, a pirate armada tried to ambush him near a star cluster. Elias used the ship's cloaking devices to disappear completely, then manipulated energy reflections to create illusions of multiple Titan's Wrath ships attacking from all sides. The pirates panicked and retreated, unable to tell illusion from reality. Through it all, Elias realized something important. Humans' advantage was not strength, size, or weaponry. It was imagination. Aliens thought in terms of rules. Humans thought in terms of possibilities. Every improvisation, every unexpected tactic, every combination of alien technology with human intuition made them a force no one had predicted. Despite victories, Elias understood the danger. Word of his ingenuity had reached the largest powers in the galaxy. Entire fleets could soon be mobilized to eliminate him before humans became a true threat. He decided to strike preemptively, but carefully. Using the Titan's Wrath, he visited a neutral system under threat from the aggressive Vorak Empire. Known for enslaving entire populations, the Vorak had already begun a blockade, planning to starve the system into submission. Elias arrived quietly, undetected by their sensors. Using the Titan's Wrath stealth systems, he disabled the blockade ships one by one. He did not destroy them. Instead, he used EMP bursts and energy redirection to cripple them. Then he deployed drones to rescue trapped ships and civilians, showing both power and mercy. The inhabitants of the system hailed him as a hero. Humans, previously dismissed as primitive, were now a symbol of hope and ingenuity. The Titan's Wrath became a beacon, where humans led, clever solutions, compassion, and innovation followed. Meanwhile, alien factions began sending envoys. Some offered alliances, hoping to learn from Elias. Others brought threats, promising fleets to destroy him. The galaxy had never seen a human with such influence, and opinions varied wildly. Humans were either clever geniuses or dangerous unpredictables. Elias spent long hours in the bridge, thinking, planning, and creating. The ship had more systems than any manual could explain, and he continued discovering hidden capabilities: gravity-manipulating weapons, energy shields that could redirect attacks, and engines capable of near-instantaneous course changes. He experimented daily, combining his human intuition with alien engineering principles. One night, while observing distant stars, Elias reflected on his journey. But humans had been underestimated for centuries. Other species mocked them as weak, simple, or expendable. Yet, here he was, a single human commanding a ship that could challenge fleets, outthink entire civilizations, and survive in impossible situations.
Your species has potential beyond belief, the Titan's Wrath said. Its voice echoes all life.
First, they have only begun to understand.
Elias nodded. I think they'll learn, he replied.
They just won't see it coming. A new challenge arrived unexpectedly. An alien coalition, fearful of the rising human influence, sent a combined fleet of over 50 warships to capture or destroy the Titan's Wrath. The fleet advanced with perfect coordination, expecting a human to panic under pressure. Elias did not. Instead, he studied the fleet, noting their attack patterns, formation weaknesses, and sensor blind spots. Then, he applied human logic in ways no alien could predict. He divided the fleet's attention by creating decoy energy signatures, drew them into an asteroid belt, and used gravitational manipulation to scatter their formations. In a bold move, Elias directed the ship's main weapon to focus energy on a massive comet drifting near the battle. The comet shattered, sending fragments flying in a path that disabled half the enemy fleet. The remaining ships were too scattered to regroup. Elias disabled their engines remotely and forced a retreat. Victory was not achieved through sheer power, but through cleverness, observation, and unpredictability. The human engineer had done what aliens considered impossible. He had used his wits to turn overwhelming odds into a triumph. Elias looked at the stars, a sense of pride and determination filling him. Humans had always survived by adapting, thinking creatively, and defying expectations. Now, in the galaxy's eyes, they were something more. "The galaxy has seen a human's ingenuity," the Titan's wrath said. "But it will take more than that to change the galaxy entirely." Elias smiled, knowing the AI was right. Growing. Larger fleets, more cunning enemies, and galactic politics awaited. But humans were ready. Humans had ingenuity, courage, and creativity. But the first time Elias realized that humans were no longer just survivors. They were becoming leaders, innovators, and a force to be respected. The galaxy had underestimated them for too long. And as the Titan's wrath glided silently through the void, Elias knew one truth. The age of human ingenuity had truly begun, and nothing would ever be the same.
Elias floated in the bridge of the Titan's wrath, the stars stretching endlessly beyond the massive viewports.
Every flicker of light, every distant world, reminded him that the galaxy was vast and full of those who had long underestimated humans.
Yet now humans were no longer invisible.
One human, one engineer, had begun to shift the galaxy's perspective forever. The Titan's wrath pulsed beneath him, alive and alert. Its systems were more powerful than ever thanks to Elias's constant modifications and ingenuity. Every subsystem had been tested, upgraded, and adapted to human thinking. Aliens who had once dismissed humanity now whispered in fear and respect about the human who could command a ship like no one else. But Elias knew that greater challenges were coming. The largest alien powers had begun to take notice. Reports indicated that several major factions were mobilizing fleets, forming coalitions to challenge him before humans could rise further. Elias didn't panic. Humans had survived by being clever, by adapting to situations no one else could predict. He trusted that same ingenuity, now amplified by the most advanced ship in the galaxy. His first encounter came sooner than expected. A coalition of the galaxy's strongest warships, numbering over 100 vessels, appeared in the system. Their commanders had underestimated the human once before. They would not make the same mistake twice. The fleet spread across space, forming a trap designed to crush the Titan's wrath before it could escape. Elias studied their formation. He noted every weak point, every predictable maneuver, every pattern in their attacks. The aliens relied on numbers and firepower, assuming no human could outthink them. That assumption would soon be shattered. "Ready?" he asked. The ship was. The Titan's wrath responded. "They will learn, as they always do." Elias initiated a series of complex maneuvers. First, he activated the ship's advanced cloaking systems, disappearing entirely from sensors. Then he rerouted energy to the gravitational projectors, creating invisible distortions in space that pushed enemy ships slightly off course, causing confusion and collisions. Bad. Next, he used energy reflection arrays to redirect incoming fire back toward the fleet, disabling multiple capital ships in a single volley. He combined these with small, precise bursts from the ship's weapons, targeting engines, shields, and control systems rather than destroying them completely. This forced the coalition to scatter and retreat, unable to regroup under the unexpected tactics. But Elias did not stop there. He initiated a bold, unprecedented move. He used the energy of a nearby star to supercharge the ship's weapons, creating a controlled burst that disabled the rest of the enemy fleet in a brilliant display of both power and precision. By the end of the engagement, the alien commanders were forced to admit something they had never thought possible. One human had outsmarted and outmaneuvered an entire coalition of their greatest fleets. Elias allowed himself a small smile. Humanity had survived against impossible odds for centuries, always underestimated, always dismissed. But now humans had proven that intellect, creativity, and courage could rival even the greatest alien civilizations. Breath. News of the battle spread faster than any fleet could travel. Every corner of the galaxy spoke of the human engineer commanding the Titan's wrath, defeating fleets, saving systems, and challenging centuries-old assumptions about humans. Humans were no longer just survivors. They were innovators, leaders, and a force to be reckoned with. As Elias navigated through uncharted systems, he began reaching out diplomatically. Some alien factions approached him with offers of alliance, seeking guidance or knowledge. Others were cautious but curious, wanting to understand how one human could wield such power. Elias welcomed those willing to learn, sharing insights about technology, strategy, and the human approach to problem-solving. In one particularly tense encounter, Elias encountered a species known for being merciless conquerors. Their fleet surrounded him, expecting easy victory. Yet Elias used a combination of stealth, environmental manipulation, and creative tactics to disable their command ship while keeping the rest intact. Brands. After the engagement, he sent a message to their leaders. Humans are not merely strong. We think differently. We survive not because we are the biggest or the fastest, but because we adapt, create, and innovate. Respect us and learn. Berate us, and you will regret it. The message spread quickly, becoming legendary across the galaxy. Humans were no longer the forgotten species on the fringe. They were a symbol of ingenuity and resilience. Meanwhile, Elias continued to improve the Titan's wrath. Every day brought new discoveries, hidden weapon systems, adaptive shields, energy manipulation devices, and faster-than-thought navigation protocols. Aliens had built the ship with incredible foresight, but humans were teaching it new ways to operate, ways even the original creators had not imagined. The AI of the ship began to adapt alongside Elias, evolving in tandem. It learned to anticipate his decisions, integrate his improvisations, and enhance his strategies in ways no alien could replicate. Together, human and ship became a unit unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Elias realized something profound. This was not just about him or the ship. It was about demonstrating the potential of humanity to the galaxy. Break. Humans had survived countless challenges on their home planet and beyond, often underestimated by every other species. Now, their ingenuity and courage could no longer be ignored. One day, Elias received an unexpected communication. It came from a coalition of alien leaders, the same species who had once mocked humans. Their message was simple. We request an audience with you, human. We seek guidance and alliance. Your species has proven its worth.
Elias considered it carefully.
Humanity had long been dismissed and marginalized, but now the galaxy wanted to listen. He replied, I will meet. But remember this, humans do not follow the rules of others. We innovate, we adapt, and we create our own path. Those who wish to work with us must respect that. The meeting went better than expected. Alien leaders were impressed not just by the Titan's wrath, but by Elias's vision and strategy. He spoke of collaboration, of combining strengths while valuing human creativity. Slowly, humans began to take their place among the respected species of the galaxy. But Elias also knew the work was not done. The challenges would continue to arise. Some factions would still doubt humans. Some would attempt to exploit or attack. Yet, with the Titan's wrath and the ingenuity of humanity, Elias felt ready for whatever came next. As he looked out at the stars, Elias reflected on the journey. He had started as a simple engineer, underestimated by everyone. He had inherited a legendary ship and faced dangers that would have destroyed lesser beings. Through creativity, courage, and intelligence, he had turned the tide of perception in the galaxy. "Humans are not weak," he whispered. "We survive, we create, we innovate." And now the galaxy finally knows it.
The Titan's wrath pulsed in agreement, lights flickering in rhythm with his heartbeat.
Together, they were more than a ship and a human. They were a symbol that humans could rise above expectations, challenge the impossible, and change the galaxy forever. Elias piloted the ship into unexplored regions, ready to face new civilizations, new challenges, and new opportunities.
Humanity had proven itself.
And the galaxy had begun to understand that underestimation was no longer safe. Wherever he went, humans were no longer invisible. Aliens who once laughed now whispered in respect, and some even sought to learn from them. Elias had done more than survive. He had rewritten the rules of perception, showing that the cleverness of one species could outshine brute strength, technology, and centuries of prejudice. The final realization came quietly, in the calm of deep space. Humans had always survived by thinking, adapting, and creating. Now, with the Titan's wrath and a human mind at its helm, they were not just surviving, they were shaping the galaxy. Elias smiled as he stared into the endless stars. Humanity's story was no longer defined by weakness or underestimation. It was defined by ingenuity, courage, and the ability to turn even the impossible into reality. "Let them watch," he said softly, "for humans are just beginning, and the galaxy will never forget it." The Titan's wrath hummed around him, alive and powerful, carrying the message of human potential across the stars. Together, human and ship would continue to change the galaxy. One ingenious solution, one daring maneuver, and one unexpected victory at a time. The age of human ingenuity had begun, and nothing would ever be the same.